Neal Milner, thank you very much for joining us on ThinkTech Hawaii.
My pleasure.
So we have this program coming up on August 25th at the Plaza Club, and you and I are working on that together, and I think it'd be a really good idea to explain to people what we're doing that day. So what's the program is called Recovery and Transformation. What does that title signify? What's the issue there?
Well, the issue is that it's time to think again about recovering, getting out of this particular situational economic mess that we're in, but also beginning to try to understand why it happened, and particularly what kind of transformations we need to make in the future. The questions aren't new. I mean, these are the same old questions about why do things happen and what can we do about the future in this regard. We just have, I think, a really unique set of people to plan on talking about it and some very interesting ways of talking about it.
Yeah, the questions are not new, but we don't want the answers to be the same old answers.
No. I mean, no basic political economic questions are ever new.
That's
it's
true.
Just that you always have to re-examine the ways that you try to deal with them. I mean, certainly these questions have been the top of the agenda for a long time, but time to take another look, and it's time to take a look at a situation that goes beyond just how do we get out of where we are now.
Yeah, I worry about it, Neal. Are you worried about it a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I'm worried about it a lot. I'm worried about it in different ways nationally than I am here, in
Yes.
fact. This place, I think, has operated for a long time on a basis of wishes and mythologies about what's going to make this place survive. And I think that a lot of those have been misplaced and that we really have to take a fresher look. This is not just about creating more jobs in a kind of generic sense. Hawaii has to take another look at its place in the economic and political world and make some adjustments to it. And that might require some very, very hard decisions, some ways of thinking that we've never really taken seriously before, and deciding not to do some things that we've begun to rely on, or at least we think we should rely on.
Yeah, this is really a turning point for the state, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah, and I think it was, in lots of ways, it's a turning point for the state, even if we hadn't gone through the economic mess we've gone through. This is a kind of long historical pattern about what happens to Hawaii over the years. This is a very different place than it was 40 or 50 years ago, which means that we have to reassess the politics and the economics that we do to make this place work.
Yeah, I see it as an X-ray drill down, and it's sort of an economic matrix with a million levels and possibilities, three-dimensional, and what's in that box,
That's right.
Exactly what's happening under the hood.
Yep.
And that we got to find out, and I think we got the people to do it. So you mentioned we had a blue ribbon crowd. You want to talk about some of them?
Well, there's I don't even want to single anybody out here. There's just so many good ones. We have people from labor unions. We have people who are publishers. We have entrepreneurs. We have a bunch of academicians down here looking at things in different sorts of ways. We have community people. It's not even so much who we have, although that's really pretty amazing how easy it was to get people to participate in. But it's trying to get them to focus on some fairly concrete, specific ways of thinking. Now, that doesn't mean a single concrete ways of thinking, but getting each person to focus in certain ways to talk about it. I think that's what's going to be very interesting. And we're going to try to avoid the pablum. We're going to try to avoid the abstraction. And we're going to test out each other's ideas a little bit. If this could be a foundation or one of the foundations for future ways of thinking about politics and the economy in Hawaii, that would be great. And I think it has possibilities of doing that.
So what's the dynamic? I mean, what are we trying to seek here? Certainly, we don't want the pablum. We want new answers. We want drill down answers. We want conclusions we haven't heard before and recommendations we haven't heard before. How are we going to get there? What's the dynamic of the program?
Well, I think one of the dynamics is that people are going to start off by talking about problems and challenges. And we are trying to make it very clear to people that it's not your job to come up with every problem and challenge. And it is certainly not your job to think that there is just one problem or challenge. You pick. Well, yours is one among others. And so that we have people talking about how they see problems here from their perspectives. And later on, we have people talking about what kind of practices they use to deal with the problems that they see. And then we have some people who are more academic, at least not necessarily in terms of just the work they do, but tend to do work in fields that bring about broader perspectives. So we'll bring to bear some of the context that helps to explain this.
Disciplines.
Yeah, disciplines. I mean, it's a mishmash, but it's a very creative kind of mishmash. So at the end, hopefully some next steps will come out of this and some ways of thinking about it. It would be great if people can take the ideas that they get out of here and start thinking about, well, what do we do to look at these more? What do we do to make things happen? And you've got people on this panel who think along those lines, and I think that's what's going to make it work.
To say nothing of the networking possibilities.
Well, I think that's right. The fact that you got all these folks on here means two things. One is that they're very interested, and two, they're people who are, to say the least, tied into a whole bunch of social, political, and economic networks. So you get the chatter going. And this is not a quick fix. These are not quick solutions. But you get the chatter going, you get the discussions going, and that's how we generate change.
And some of these people on this list are going to be the ones who generate and implement the change.
I think that's right. I think that's right. And we've tried to put some people on who are not necessarily that well known as being at the top of the heap. Not necessarily there are some very well known corporate executives and some very well known others. We tried to put younger leaders on at the same time to see how they're thinking about the things that they run, and having people that normally don't associate with one another talk about each other's perspectives.
I'm very excited about this, Neal. I guess you are too.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So how about telling people what the logistics are, where and when and how and so forth?
Well, glad you asked. It's Wednesday, August 25th at the Plaza Club, 4th Street Mall. It's from 8 o'clock to 1:30 with a quick little box lunch. We don't want to give you too much time to eat because we just want to keep it moving. It costs $65, and that includes breakfast. And you can register by. You want me to read the?
No, we'll put it on the
and
screen.
Okay, and that's pretty much it. And I should add, as I was looking at this thing now, that it says there that you will have on sale a new book called The Values of Hawaii that is going to be coming out about the same time, that attempts to look at both Hawaii's policies in Hawaii, both in terms of the past and of the future. And it's written in a series of short essays for the educated layperson. That'll be available there too. So you have all these kinds of things generating at the same time.
Excellent book, excellent essays. You're one of the essayists.
Well, that's right. That's a right source of information, right? Truth telling here. I'm not necessarily.
Disclosure.
I'm in good. Full disclosure. I'm in good company for sure. Whether my essay's any good, I did one on the University of Hawaii. Whether mine's any good, it's in darn good company.
Well, we know you'll be there, Neal.
Yes, I will.
You'll be on the panel.
I'm on the panel. I'm not just one of the organizers, and I know you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Because you're the catalyst to all of this.
A lot of people will be there, Neal.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Thanks very much,
You're
Neal
welcome.
Milner.
Take care.
Looking forward. Appreciate your help.
Me too.
Aloha.
Aloha.